Ladies and gentlemen, our forecast today calls for very, very, very cold temperatures. I don't know if you can see in the middle there on the bottom, it's dropped 3 degrees since this morning. We are here approximately 30 minutes before the sunrise, and we will be getting set up. The entire excuse for today, despite the miserably cold weather and the fact that we got our first snow of the season a few days ago, although I think it was very light and I don't see it on the ground, is because there's a new camera. And so was really excited to try it, and I was sick, and I got a little better, and I got sick again, or I, got the second wind of illness, and yeah, it wasn't fun. But now we're back after a nice Thanksgiving weekend, and I had a lot of fun, and now it's time to go be really cold for an hour to watch the sunrise over what could possibly be a frozen lake. I can't really tell. Will we see birds? Maybe not likely. Am I going very far? Extremely not. I'm just going right over that way to a spot where I see people fishing, and I'm just going to set up. We're going to watch the sunrise over the water, and for that to happen, I'm going to have to get going right now so that we can be fully set up and recording within 30 minutes. And that's the plan. Just on time. Look at that. Perfect.
Hi, everybody. I think I didn't say that this morning. It's fine. It'll be fine. It'll all be fine. I'm just going to back out of this parking lot so I'm not sitting right next to a guy who's just kind of watching me. I don't know what he's doing. He was just kind of sitting there. I mean, not exclusively. If he was just staring at me, I would be rather perturbed, but I don't know, doing something. Maybe on his phone or something. It doesn't really matter. He was just there. And I went, I think I'll start driving. I don't know if I'll make it all the way around. I didn't put a camera out the front because I'm just going to start going. But that's regardless. What did we see? Gulls. That was pretty much it. But, oh, that's warm. That's toasty warm. I've gone this way once before, haven't I? I mean, you know what? What am I doing? It's right here. But I have to make sure it's the correct orientation. There. I think these are actually in each other's view. I mean to fix that. I didn't. I used it the one time we came back out and then, got sick and haven't been back out. But this is around that state wildlife area I've come to many times. It's a familiar place. It's a comfortable place. It's a good place. Just thought, oh, you know what? We'll come out. We'll mostly focused on that camera and trying to get it, the new one, and make sure everything's good. Because you could plan everything at home the way I did, and then you come out here and it all falls apart, which is what it did. Whoops. Yeah. It worked. Everything mostly worked. It felt good. The cameras felt good to get back to that. Definitely had a good time. I'm happy that we came out and we got to try it out again. It feels, familiar to use the bigger one, and then the newer one we're figuring out. I had a problem with... I was wondering if that was another road or if that was a private drive. I don't know. Big open fields, though. I've seen elk around here in people's yards. That would be cool to see again. But the big camera was working. The secondary one, our B cam, did really good. It did really well, I think, for most everything. I knew this would be an issue. I didn't know how much of an issue because I didn't play with it too much at home. I was like, I'll figure it out when I get out there. The sensor is a full frame. And the lens, that wide-angle lens I've been using for years, is a Super 35. So that is a smaller sensor. It covers that, which means that when I go fully wide on the lens, the sensor picks that up. So we have a vignette. Is that the stuff? And so basically, I have to zoom in a little bit more on that lens. It's more like around 35 millimeter, I think, is where I was. There's nothing that I have to crop or anything. We don't get shadows around the edges. It's not the most ideal. Obviously, more ideal would be to buy another lens that is made for the bigger sensor, but those are expensive. We definitely aren't going to be doing that anytime soon. And then further on top of that, the ND filter that I have, again, kind of made for that other llamas. Kind of made for that other one, which makes sense because that's the sensor. Hush, I said, mute. Morning. That other sensor is what we've been using on the main camera, is a smaller sensor technically. So that bigger sensor will cover more, which means that if I don't have a lens made for that, we get the edges of the frame. Yeah. And then the ND filter is the same thing. It's kind of cropped in. So again, I still like it. I still like everything there. One day we will get a bigger ND filter. and a lens that will probably have more of that room. Or I'll just go, this is the shot when I want it as wide as possible, and we deal with, you know, a black vignette around the edges. That's the term for it, right? I haven't thought about it in a while. Cows. But yeah, mostly geese. I definitely had a few issues of like the batteries on the monitor. Again, if you notice when I set it up, and I didn't go through or talk about this anything, but like the batteries that are on there are the V-mount batteries, those big things, which I put on both cameras. I got an adapter specifically, even though it uses, it does, it's not default, it's another kind of battery yet again. There's like a third or fourth kind of battery that I realized was yet another model number that would require a different plug-in. But the typical Sony, whatever it's called, that I find on a lot of lights and is used in several other cameras. It's not the newest one, the Pixis. That's how it's pronounced, right? Didn't I say that one time before? That was a different kind of Sony one, but the one that's on the monitor is the same kind of situation where it's the two prongs. There's a Sony B something, I don't remember. I look it up every time and go, okay, what is it? What do I have? What do I need? Should I need new ones? Maybe I need new ones. Maybe they just cannot handle the cold. They have no cold weather resistance whatsoever, because I put them on there, and very similar to last time, they were dead in about 2 minutes. And they're big, beefy ones I specifically got. What I really would like is an adapter plate that goes on there, fits into those, and allows me to put a V-mount battery on there instead, because the V-mounts seem to last much longer. Those big ones I've got, although the last time we came out and I went, oh, I guess I just can't do a wide angle shot because of, before we bought this camera, the V-mount battery that I had, that's the oldest one. I bought that when I bought that Blackmagic camera in the summer of 2020. So that has been 5 full years. It is totally dead. It will not charge. I tried different charging methods to see. I'm guessing it's similar to a car battery in the fact that when one of the cells goes, it's just done. I don't know if I could mess with it and try to replace, or I haven't looked into that at all. I just went, okay, well, this is why we have extra batteries. This is why we have multiple. And I've got the big ones, and I carry extra in my bag just in case. So besides all of those things, and it was a little more difficult to use the main camera because I forgot to bring, I brought my grip, which has the recording button, the remote recording, which is perfect, because what you want to do is set up the shot, get that, and then don't put your hands on the camera again, which causes shake because of the millimeters that we're shooting at. So having that grip off to the side, super useful, very, very good. So you can press the remote without touching the camera. But that grip that I brought requires a cable, which I didn't have because I forgot it, because I took it out of the, I took it off the grip and went, okay, I've got a couple options for cables. I'll put it in the bag. And what I did was instead set it on a table and forget about it at home. I know exactly where it is. I thought those were the extra ones. I thought I still had one in the bag, but I checked every pocket and I didn't have one. So I'll have to make sure to grab those off the table and make sure that there's one in the bag. But yeah. That's neither here nor there. Besides that, those kind of things, it was good. I got a little confused with the camera because I forgot to put the new one. I usually, once I get them all going, I just turn on a LUT, which is, it basically takes it from, you know, have you ever seen a RAW photo? I've talked about it before, where everything's just kind of gray because it's holding all the raw information, and you use, you know, the effects in post-production to bring out all the colors and kind of tweak it from that point. So it was just shooting, and I'm like, this is kind of, I mean, it's tough to tell because it's so misty out coming off the water. And I was like, this doesn't look great. I didn't turn the LUT on. As soon as I did that, I was like, oh, the colors are way better. Here we go. Yeah, that makes sense. I just didn't think about it. I also didn't think about, I also had an issue with the audio. So for the first half of, I don't know, a good 15, 20 minutes, the audio will be straight out the camera, which is usually not good. But hey, maybe that's why. We tested it so that we could see what the onboard camera mics on the Pixis sound like. That's not why we did it, but that is what happened, because I forgot to go into the settings and say, hey, use the XLR microphone, and put the phantom power to the XLR microphone so it'll work. So I just didn't have audio going that. You'd think, oh, that won't be an issue because you usually record audio separately with a completely different audio recording setup. I do. Except today, where I got tired and went, what's the point when I can't? My sync, the timecode sync, like we talked about before, even though I charged them, even though I checked them, I made sure they weren't turned on. One of them was dead. The other two were fine. So I was able to sync between the two cameras, but I was like, what's the point? If I'm just going to use onboard, XLR microphone to it, whatever. It is what it is. So that happened. No audio. I don't have an audio recording, but we did what we did. And about half hour through, I was like, oh, I should probably be getting the bigger, wider angle on the less good, one of these cameras. So I remembered that about halfway through. And now it's getting real warm. I actually use the seat warmer. I almost never use the seat warmer, but I was so cold out there. My nose was just about completely frozen by the end. We only were out there for an hour, but an hour in those temperatures, well below freezing, man, you'll feel it. That's for sure. So anyway, that was it. Mostly geese. I'm pretty sure that was about the only thing we saw the entire time. Oh, there were some golden eyes at one point going and landing on the water. Everything was really far. I didn't expect to see a super ton set up where we were because we just kind of picked a spot, not right at the parking lot, but close to the parking lot. And so it's just like you're in the middle of the whole lake with everything. So unless the birds are landing directly near you, which typically when the lake is so big, they're not going to. Why would they when there's plenty more area that they can go to? But it was a lot of geese a lot of gulls. What kind of gull? I'm not sure. I was just checking to see, and there's like almost 30 different kinds of gulls that you can see in the US. Now, for the most part, I think here in the middle, smack dab in the center, I think we mostly only get a couple varieties, but I'll find out when I'm actually editing. Hopefully, if they were close enough for me to look and see. I did not check last time, but kind of similar in the fact that it was just kind of track the geese as best, or the gulls. Why do I keep doing that? Track the gulls as best we can, and then they kind of dip down and land on the water for a second and then get back out of there, which is interesting. I assume the water's colder. I was kind of thinking about this the other day. We went on a drive and we passed a much smaller pond off to the side, or lake, I think was technically big enough. I don't know, but there were just multiple hundreds of geese on the water. And I thought about it, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Because then we pass a creek with moving water and nothing on that. I was like, the moving water is probably colder, maybe because of that. But then I think, but the larger body of water will freeze first because it's not moving. So does that make it colder? Is it actually technically warmer? I'm sure that it's a combination of whether or not the temperature is actually different. I'm not sure. But even if it freezes, the number of bodies of geese in there, they would keep themselves warm with their own insulation and fat layer and all that. And they're having to do a lot less energy output when they're just sitting on the water. Because if they're on moving water and they want to stay float, not just roll down the river, float down the river, they have to be paddling the whole time. And I assume that they can stay buoyant on water, on the surface of water, without that if it's still. That's a guess. I have no idea. I've never thought to look into that before. I've never just driven past and been like, wow, look at all them geese. Because there was a ton, but no geese today on this body, which makes sense. That other one was smaller. They stay close together when they're in that because it's just survival. A big lake like that one, I can see where they would not be interested in that. That would take a lot more of them in order to cover the same, to cover the larger area. I don't know. I'm speculating. I don't 100% know that. This is just guessing, but yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking. And I'm glad we got out regardless, even though the weekends got all mixed up and stuff. We'll see what we do throughout the rest of the month of December. We are now into December. And it's cold, so weather permitting, we'll be out as much as we can during the winter. And this is my reminder, if I haven't done it by now, because I was going to do it when I get home, and I can go online and place an order, do the order for, remember the gator. I think that's what, I found out a few years ago, that's what it's called, and I can't find mine. I have one decent one, and the other ones are more like, not baklava, that's a dessert, balaclava. And I didn't really want to do that with the hat, so I just went, I'll be fine. My neck won't get that cold, or my face and my chin and my everything. And yeah, it pretty much did. And I was pretty cold. So maybe make sure you actually get that, Michael. If you can't find it when you get home, order another one when you see this when you're editing. And that'll do it. I think that's everything that's been going on, wildlife related. And I'm going to go home and warm up because I'm still pretty cold. Whew, chilly. Full layers though. Still cold. All right, bye everybody. Camera worked great. I'm overall really happy with it. Super happy with the new camera. I'm glad we got out, even though it was mostly just a test to make sure it worked. It worked. Good stuff. Bye everybody.